in today's world with content and social media, you can't get away with just making a single video. And so something that we do every time we pitch a campaign, we talk to our customers about additional pieces of content. And we're always including things like photography and cut down in every job that we go on. Can you talk a little bit about why we do that and why that's important?
Yeah, arguably cut downs, or we could call them like little mini teasers for your spot. Sometimes they perform well than the actual spots themselves because they're shorter. A lot of times they're easier to post in stories, so they'll get my eyeballs on them. So all of it's important. Typically, the types of documentary storytelling pieces we produce are anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes. I would say that's your average range, right? What do you do when you post that on YouTube? How do you get people to watch it? Well, you can post the YouTube link everywhere, or you could create a couple 15 and 30-second cut-down versions, mini teasers, if you will, to kind of just capture some interest and get people driving traffic back to your YouTube channel. We found that as being a really big winning success for our business, and the brands we work with really like that, and they utilize posting those cut-downs across all their platforms, whether it be Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok. It's endless. Those are a lot more shareable, a lot just kind of more bite-sized pieces than like the longer piece. So a lot of times our cut downs do get more traction than the longer pieces. So they're definitely valuable, and it's definitely a good part of your overall brand strategy to have the shorter cut downs driving to the longer pieces. Same with photography. On every shoot we're on, we usually either bring a photographer or we have a behind-the-scenes photographer. And that footage, the photography content works really well for just like a single post about XYZ video that you just made, right? So it's another way to kind of cross-market your videos through photography. I know your question was more about cut downs, but cut downs are vital to our business, I would say. Everything comes with a cut down. All of our video packages are built with cut downs. And it's kind of up to the customer to determine how they use them, and we can give them recommendations, but a lot of times, I would say that a lot of times, unfortunately, they get underused, meaning they don't get taken advantage of and posted everywhere that they should get posted.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of different ways that you could use these cut downs. It doesn't have to be a trailer leading up to it. It could be something that's posted 2 or 3 weeks after the main piece to continue to try and drive traffic. With how fast everybody consumes content, it's easy to sort of pass by something that maybe you think or the rest of your team thinks is amazing and should live on for months and months. It's easy to get lost in the noise that is social media content. And cut downs are a great way to give life to a piece well beyond when it's been posted. So is the photography. It could be a still post, a Throwback Thursday, it could be a Remember When, or it could be a new angle or a new perspective on some video clips that we have that just hit the algorithm right and drive people to that video.
100%. We can't really stress how important cut downs are enough, because in our business, like you said, the fast-paced, moving environment, everybody's scrolling through their feeds all day, every day. I mean, you could make an awesome piece and it just gets scrolled right by. The more cut downs you have out in the ethos or in the ether, the better chance you have as somebody clicking on that and saying, "Oh, I'd like to know more about that. I should go find the long video," right? Mm-hmm. That is something that I think is extremely valuable for brands to take advantage of. Mm-hmm. And usually once you've made the video and you've edited the video, you've done all the hard work, the cut downs, you almost just extract them straight out of the video. You could format them vertically if you want them to look nice on a phone, which we do that a lot. Sometimes they rock widescreen if they're going to go on LinkedIn, but you can kind of repurpose and reformat the videos and cut them down, cut them up a million different ways. Mm-hmm. There's no rules in that way. You could really make, like you said, there's a lot of times it's good to make teasers, these cut downs that come out before a piece drops. And then maybe there's a good one to drop, like this piece is now live. Maybe the call to action is now live. Go to our YouTube channel, click on whatever. Mm-hmm. And then there's usually like the after the fact video. Now that the video's out, it's been seen by the first batch of people. How do you get eyes back on your project? And usually that's something that follows up a few weeks, if not even a few months later, depending on how evergreen your video is. Those follow-up cut downs can kind of drive traffic or remind people, oh yeah, that was a really good video, I'm gonna go watch that again.
Sure. And we start with that 2 to 5 minute piece and we're trying to boil everything down to 15 seconds. Another big miss is that you try and do everything with every video. Like, does your 15-second piece have to tell your entire 5-minute story? No. Let it be just one element. Just kind of be the appetizer to the full meal that is the full piece. When we're creating those cut downs, I think that every team probably has a different formula for what they're looking for. But what would you say that we're looking for? We have that 5-minute piece already produced, and we know we want to make, let's call it 3 30-second cut downs for a customer. High level, what might those 3 different cut downs look like, and how are they different from one another?
That's a good question. It needs to be, if it's a 30-second cut down, it needs to be somewhat cohesive enough to still tell some kind of story. It can't just, I mean, sometimes they are cliffhangers where it's like you got to click on the full video to get the message. But for us, we're usually looking for some kind of hook, whether it's an intro hook or a middle of the video hook or like an outro hook that can live within those cut downs, and some kind of exciting part of the storyline that could weave back into. A lot of times we'll pull out like a really nice soundbite, and then we'll find different B-roll to go over that soundbite, and then slap a logo on the end of it, and that's a cut down, right? There's no right or wrong way to do this, but every story is different. But we usually just try to find some kind of interesting element to extract from the longer piece to make a cut down that works well. And every story is different. There's no right or wrong way to do it, but I think finding, and that's how our style is. We just kind of like say, here's our 5-minute piece. Let's watch it a bunch of times. What's the best 30-second nuggets we could just pull right out of that? Maybe rearrange a few shots.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how our strategy has worked so far.
Finding those special moments. It's not always like beginning, middle, and end if you're making 3 pieces. Sometimes it's like 2 pieces from the middle, or the climax is its own thing, right? It's all dependent on the story. And it's not trying to make each of those cut downs do the full lift of the entire story. That's too much to ask sometimes of a little 30-second video. And maybe it does need to be a cliffhanger. Maybe it only needs to be the climax. Maybe it needs to be just a single soundbite where somebody says something really powerful that's going to make people want to watch what else is there. Or give them enough that they get the point. Right? Maybe it's kind of the other half of that, and it just is the brand messaging part of the story. As an example, like, why do I love using Sony cameras? And it's just that piece instead of like my journey through filmmaking, as an example.
And another thing, we don't do this very often, but it's probably something we should consider more often, is a cut down could be as simple as like an outtake of something that never got used in the actual video, right? It could be an outtake, it could be an alternate soundbite. There's really no rules, and that's honestly one of the most fun parts of post-production for me is how do you make this into a teaser? And that's essentially what a cut down is, right? How do you market this to someone that you only got 30 seconds to get them interested enough to want to watch the whole thing, or feel like you need them to feel like they're missing out on not seeing the whole thing. If you only give them that 30 seconds, you want to leave them wanting more. Is the whole goal of it, right?
That's such a good point. And, you know, in thinking about like maybe it's an outtake where somebody curses and you want to bleep it out. Maybe it's an outtake where you hear like somebody from the crew asking the question, but it just gives it that like authenticity or that real moment that makes people want to watch the full piece. And those things can crush as cut downs. Maybe it's even just repurposing like your B-roll from the piece in a really exciting montage. It doesn't have to be a story piece. Maybe it's just your awesome shots, or it's one shot. Maybe it's one really kick-ass slow motion shot that visually is really appetizing to people and makes them want to see more.
Yeah, you're right. There's really no rules to the way you do this. It's what it's kind of like your way to kind of get a second chance on how to engage people with your project, with your video, and essentially with the brand you're working for. You have another opportunity to tease them enough to get them to the website, to the YouTube channel, wherever that long video lives. That's your goal. And, you know, sometimes people don't click through and watch the longer video, and sometimes the teaser will get, you know, thousands of views and the piece will get hundreds of views, and that's okay. You're still getting your message out there. So there's a lot of different ways to look at it and understand the metrics and the ROI on cut downs, but it's more for, I would say, like brand awareness, or I guess you would say like campaign awareness, video awareness. Maybe they don't click and watch the full video, but they know you put out a video, right?
Yeah.
That matters depending on what industry you're in and if it's like what you're marketing, what you're selling.
For sure. I wrote down here, how many should somebody make? How many is too many? And at the risk of saying like there are no rules 10,000 times in this video, how many should somebody make?
I would say it's subjective, but I would say a tasteful amount, right? And that's subjective. You could argue that, that could be 2 or 3 or 10 or 20, right? It depends on also, are you making a feature film or are you making...
How long do you want to
Yeah.
promote this
Yeah.
piece of content? How much shelf life does it really have?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's just say it's a run-of-the-mill 3-minute documentary. Again, there's no rules. You can't say that you can only do X amount. I would say, like, if you really want to push it out across all the channels, I would recommend doing, like, 4 or 5 cut downs. Do some horizontal and then reformat them to vertical, right, to really try to shine hard on social. And then just start posting them. See what works better. Post them at different times of the day.
Yeah, my gut says 2 to 5.
Yeah.
Is probably like a sweet spot for most projects. And when we say like reframe them for vertical, I think that means like use the same content but cropped for different platforms. Not, it needs to be a completely unique video. So you're still doubling your output. You're just giving yourself a better chance for success on the specific platforms that you might post those specific cut downs to.
Right. And to get in like the nerdy tech weeds, like we talk about this all the time, but videos are shot widescreen, 16:9. Phones are vertical, 9:16. So the hard part sometimes is figuring out how to market your long form content on a vertical. People, they're going to consume this content on a phone. So what we do is we stretch the image out in post to where it fits the full screen of your phone. That's become pretty popular, and it seems like videos that are formatted vertically on social get more love when people are looking at it on their phones. Not to say you can't post a widescreen video on your phone. That still works for a lot of the stuff, but if you really want to kind of grab people's attention, it seems like the vertical full screen phone content is kind of the way to go.
For sure. And when you're spending a lot of money to produce video content, maximize that spend. Get the most bang for your buck and create a lot of these cut downs. Leverage the amount of time that a crew is spending on set to produce really high quality stuff by giving yourself enough ammo to have this thing live on for a month, 2 months, as much as you can get away with. And using cut downs is really one of the most effective ways that we see as a production partner. Companies are able to use the content that we produce to continue to bring engagement to that main piece. And when it's used well, it can really help boost the entire campaign, not just that one video or one cut down.
Exactly. And cut downs, the other value too is like you're going to post your 2 to 5 minute video on your YouTube channel. You're not going to keep posting that same video on your YouTube channel every so often, but you can recycle these cut downs. They're kind of like, you post it once and you post it 3 months later, as long as it's not time sensitive or for a specific campaign that was, dated. That's a good way to get people to remember that video you made months ago, because everybody's feed is so full all the time. You're constantly scrolling. It's easy to forget that Press Rec or Bobcat or whoever made this video months ago that I enjoyed. And if you see that teaser again, the cut down, maybe you want to watch it again. So it's just kind of a way to kind of maybe get some after the fact love and traction back on your project.
Out of sight, out of mind, right? And if you can continue to be in the feed and continue to show up for your audience, they're going to continue to create that authentic connection with your brand and ultimately show up for you.
Exactly. Yeah, I can't stress enough like how important cut downs have been for the types of video packages we sell. Everything, pretty much every package we sell comes from cut downs. In fact, I can't remember a single time where someone's like, I don't want that. I don't want cut downs. Has that ever happened? I don't think it has. But
maybe.
Yeah.
It depends on where it's going to live.
Right.
I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but I do know a lot of what we produce, it's like top of mind from the beginning.
Yeah.
All of the deliverables that are going to be in the scope, not just like the main piece. We're shooting for that main piece, and we're aiming for like the thing that's going to require the most amount of content. But in turn, thinking about how we can leverage this stuff to maximize the number of deliverables and provide the most value for the customer long term.
And the way we work too, with our clients and customers, they trust us enough to decide what those cut downs look like. A lot of times cut downs aren't really premeditated like the video itself is. We just try to make the best long form piece we can make and then extract those cut downs. Whereas you could take the strategy as, I want to specifically film these cut downs while we're on set. And there's no rule saying you can't do that, but the way we film, we're kind of more real life documentary storytellers, to where we're not really fishing for a single soundbite or a 15-second or 30-second. We're trying to tell this all-encompassing story about whatever this person does, and then find those little nuggets after it's edited up nicely. That's, for us, that works best on how we can pull the cut downs out and make the really impactful.
You can't plan for those magic moments. They just happen. And that's in the DNA of all of our projects, is letting those moments just happen. Maybe somebody gets emotional during an interview. Maybe the sun sets perfectly behind the subject and we get this incredible shot, and the cut down is that one shot, right? We don't know. Sometimes we have to go to a place we've never been before and find the best looking way to shoot an interview and find the best looking way to get the B-roll to look right. And that's part of the fun and the magic behind our jobs, is figuring that part of it out. For our customers, to provide them with content that is of a certain level of quality that we promise to provide.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Most all of the shoots we do, we're showing up to a place we haven't been. Maybe we're lucky to have seen photos of what we're getting ourselves into, but a lot of times we're walking onto a set or a site or private property, and we're figuring it out as we go, right? You can do storyboarding ahead of time. You can do scripting ahead of time. We do some of that. But a lot of it is figuring, like getting eyes on it, understanding who the subject is. We do that part in pre-production. We understand the subject more than their surroundings or what the site looks like. So a lot of that stuff is show up, figure it out on the set. And that's something I'd say we're pretty good at, not to brag, but we have, of course we haven't mastered it. There's always things we can do to improve on, and different ways to shoot B-roll, which I think we try to get creative every time we go out on a shoot, right?
Yeah.
There's no, there's all kinds of ways you can slice and dice video production, but I think we have gotten good at being comfortable with what we're good at and what the strengths our team brings to the set, and how we can lean on each other to pull these right moments out and get the right shots as a team.
And if somebody's working with like another video provider and they're not talking to you about cut downs, that's a big red flag, and you need to be asking or thinking about how you can leverage that content after the fact. Like, do you own the raw assets at the end of your shoot? Make sure that you do, so that you can use that content again, whether that's with that same production partner or not. Sometimes we go back in the archives and use footage that we shot 6 months ago, 5 years ago, 15 years ago in videos that we're using today. So you want to be able to maintain that level of like archival footage when you're spending this kind of money to produce awesome video content for yourself. And to kind of circle us back to like cut downs and how everything, let me try that again. To kind of circle us back to cut downs, it's just a way to stay consistent and to stay in front of your audience. It doesn't matter if all your cut downs are vertical and that they live on TikTok, and that your final video is a documentary for YouTube, or your final video is this beautifully shot commercial and you want to make a whole behind the scenes documentary and then make cut downs about that. It's leveraging your production spend and making the most out of your spend.
100%. Producing videos at this level is expensive, and I do think cut downs is a way for brands to justify the cost, right? Are you making one video, or are you making one video plus 3 cut downs? That's technically 4 videos that show up in people's feeds. So yes, they're shorter teaser trailer style videos, but that's still content representing your brand in a positive light. So I would encourage brands to think about cut downs as just more ammunition to drive traffic back to wherever you're sending people, whether it's your website, whether it's your YouTube channel, whether it's to buy your product. I can't stress enough how important cut downs are. And a point you brought up earlier, kind of off topic from cut downs, is like how brands may not understand how they should be archiving their content. I would suggest if you're a brand and you're partnering with a new video agency, you should probably ask them for a hard drive at the end of the project. Try to make sure you're smart enough to know how to get that footage. If it's 2 years from now, 3 years from now, is that brand going to send you a hard drive? Probably not. So I think in effort to keep your archive safe, I would say have someone at your business that is responsible with data management. Keep that hard drive somewhere safe where that footage can be accessed 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years from now. Because you never know. You might want to pull that thing back out, have a different production team, make some different cut downs, right? So I think data management and understanding how to use these cut downs is pretty important in this part of the step of production.